Veterans Day, we celebrate all men and women who raised their right hands and swore an oath of allegiance to an idea, our U.S. Constitution. Today marks the anniversary of Armistice Day on November 11th, 1919, marking the first anniversary of the end of World War I. Those guns fell silent at the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month of 1918, officially ending the war to end all wars. The number of men and women who served in the military is estimated to be around 40 million Americans, with nearly 20 million veterans living today. Veterans remind us that there is so much more that unites us than divides us. Veterans remind us that there are tough societal issues in our country, but the military somehow figures it out. Veterans also remind us that freedom isn't free, and it comes at a very dear price. Today and every day, thank a veteran for our freedom. Now it is my honor to introduce our founding president and Chief Executive Officer, Lieutenant General Mike Farrader, U.S. Army retired.
Hey everybody, I'm Lieutenant General Mike Farrader right here at the National Veterans Memorial and Museum. And it's a great day to be a veteran, and of course it's a great day to be here at the National Veterans Memorial and Museum on Veterans Day to celebrate our veterans, past, present, and those of the future. Now this is the nation's first and only museum dedicated to telling the story of veterans' experience across all services, both in wartime and in peace. We just celebrated our second anniversary of being open. This inspiring place was the vision of the late Senator John Glenn. It was made possible through the leadership of this community, including Les and Abigail Wexner, the Columbus Downtown Development Corporation, and Franklin County. Many more have now been integral to our growth and success in our second year. So as we celebrate Veterans Day, I also wanted to tell you we are open, we are strong, we are connecting, and we're impacting lives. And we've done it through the innovation and the creativity of a great staff that have put programming online, digital, and into virtual so we can reach out across the country, coast to coast. We've reached hundreds of thousands now since COVID first arrived. We created new virtual events from veteran leaders who are experts in their fields where they continue to serve others. Examples include navigating life's battlefields or resilience in time of stress and maintaining health in difficult circumstances and even navigating the current job market. Our mission is to honor, connect, inspire, and educate. You will see that the mission carried throughout the 14 thematic alcoves that walk our guests through the service members' experiences in their own voices. This experience to every serviceman and woman is set parallel to a historic timeline of our country that also shares the stories of heroic and impactful veterans from all walks of life. We have 2 national traveling exhibits on their stops at the museum right now. Amazingly, we have So Ready for Laughter, The Legacy of Bob Hope, and We the People, Portraits of Veterans in America by watercolor artist Mary White. These exhibits are incredible additions that expand on the veteran story. Bob Hope's selflessness, entertaining World War II troops all the way through Vietnam and Desert Shield, Desert Storm, and Mary White's passion for sharing veteran stories after service through her artistry will leave you inspired and energized to be a positive force in your community. We work to unify and build up communities regardless of differences because just like our military teams, we are stronger together. Today, across our nation, we pay tribute to all American veterans, living and dead, who served our country in both wartime and in peace. It's a time to remember there is more that unites us than divides us. An opportunity to reach out to a veteran who may be isolated or who could use a cheerful conversation to connect and remember they aren't alone. Please do that today. I've seen over my 35 years of service countless times when need arose that the military members or veterans rolled in to take care of people. We see it down in the storms in Louisiana. We also see teams come together for healthy activities like Team Red, White, and Blue. So as we go forward, my call to action is for you to get involved. Join us, the NVMM, as a member. Attend our events. Share your stories. Share your grandfather's stories. and help us impact lives together. God bless you all, and God bless America. And now it's my honor to introduce one of our wonderful board members, Army veteran, Army Ranger, and CEO of Big Lots, Mr. Bruce Thorne.
I'm involved with the National Veterans Memorial Museum because right before I joined Big Lots, roughly 2 years ago, the company announced its support of the National Veterans Memorial Museum. I was thrilled because my personal mission has been to help and honor America's veterans. As a West Point graduate and combat veteran myself, I've had the honor to see some of our country's finest, most selfless leaders in action. I've learned from them, I've been inspired by them, and I will always feel a deep sense of gratitude to those who gave the most. I've witnessed so many traits of selflessness in the military. Where do I start? There's so many instances of selflessness, from small things like families helping families when a spouse is deployed to a combat zone across the world. You know, the simple things like helping them mow the lawn, babysit, make a meal, go grocery shopping, to tremendous acts of valor like Private First Class Lars Chu, who I served with in the 3rd of the 325 Airborne Battalion Combat Team, and who was killed in action while safeguarding others from an IED he encountered on patrol. Before he died, all he wanted to know was if everyone else was okay. It doesn't get any more selfless than that, and that's why the National Veterans Memorial and Museum is so special to all of us. Remembering and honoring our veterans is our duty as Americans. I'm very excited about the Excel Scholarship Program at West Point. It was established to help high-performing cadets from underrepresented groups attain high-profile postgraduate scholarships, like the Rhodes Scholarship. Personally, I've started an endowment to help support this effort. At West Point, we used to say, we don't just teach history, we make it. That's why it's so important that future generations of world leaders graduating from West Point represent the diversity of America and all the greatness that comes with it at the highest levels possible. The traits I've learned during my military time have contributed to my own personal success, the way I live my life. In the Army, you learn to be a servant leader. You help your teammates before you help yourself. You take ownership of failures and give credit to others for success. It's always about the team and the collective wins. It's always about staying grounded in humility while reaching for the stars. That's a great mindset to help you excel in the business world and in life. Oh, and because you're used to competing and failing and getting back out more times than you've been knocked down, you're conditioned and not afraid to throw yourself into the fray just one more time. Rise and grind wins every time. What I've learned in the service and the military has been a guiding light for me. It's basically set my foundation to serve through my life in means of philanthropy, give back, programs to lift up those in need. It's all about respect. It's all about strengthening the long gray line. It's all about believing in our creed of lifetime service to our country. It's about doing good when we're doing well, and it's about leaving the world a bit better than when you entered it. My motto as an Army veteran is simple. It's be all you can be. Everyone benefits from you being all you can be. Every difference makes us better. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce a U.S. Marine, Annapolis graduate, who went on to become a U.S. Navy Lieutenant Commander and daytime Emmy Award-winning host, Montel Williams.
Thanks so much, Bruce, and thank you for tuning in to today's Veterans Day virtual ceremony. I'm Montel Williams. You know, I entered the service back in 1974, back at a time where we had just come out of a conflict where a lot of us who wore uniforms back then didn't receive the same amount of respect that we receive today. But I look back at those times and they are some of the fondest memories in my life. I remember when I graduated from high school, you know, I was so impressed by a friend of mine who had enlisted in the Marine Corps, graduated a year before me, enlisted in the Marine Corps, and had gone away and was stationed overseas and came home because he had been injured during his deployment and was coming home on leave to visit family members and friends. And the pride he showed when he walked around wearing that uniform, that Marine Corps dress blue, blew me away. And I back then was a young man who, you know, had done very well in school. I was participated in school politics. I was a president of my class 2 years in a row. I was a student on the Board of Education. I was a member of the Maryland and Chesapeake Regional Associations of Student Councils, and was very active. But I was also a person back then who didn't have a lot of a plan. I really didn't pay attention as closely as I should have to planning what was going to happen after I left school. When I graduated, I had some choices to make, choices about which college I was going to go to. But I was so impressed by this friend of mine who came home wearing that uniform. I said, I really think I might want to go and enlist in the Marine Corps. After speaking to my family, my parents, I decided that that was a choice for me. But before I went down to sign up, I remember calling this friend of mine over to my house and having a long conversation with him. And he told me and laid out some things that I needed to pay very close attention to if I decided to go to Marine Corps boot camp. And back then, the options were Marine Corps boot camp in Parris Island. I was an East Coast guy, or San Diego, California. And, I went, Parris Island, what's that all about? And he explained to me that, this is not, a summer camp, my friend. This is going to be a place that's going to require you to really dig deep, look within, and understand that you're putting on a uniform not because you just want to impress people with the color of the uniform that you're wearing, but you want to put on a uniform because our country still needs defending. So once that uniform goes on, recognize that you may go away and end up being in a place that could get you hurt, worse than I'm hurt. And I thought about that, and I think about that now, even after 50 years. I think back on that time, and I remember making a decision that, what, I want to be a part of something that's bigger than just me. I want to be a part of something that takes pride in understanding that I'm going to serve my country in a way that will defend it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I make that choice voluntarily. And I made that choice. And I think it was one of the best decisions I made in my life. I had a boot camp in Parris Island, and, it was tough. I was serving at a time before the congressional investigations into, violent hazing, and, went through some things that I think right now we look back at and think that may not have been the best choices that we were making in training our service members. But we were just coming out of a war that no one was happy with. And I don't begrudge or hold any animosity towards any of the training that I went through. I felt that it instilled in me some things that I needed and I was in dire need of. Things like discipline, things like a sense of obligation to something greater than me. It instilled in me the need to make sure I finish a task and get it done to the best of my ability. And so after graduating from boot camp and I was meritoriously promoted out of boot camp, I went immediately to 29 Palms, California, where I was supposed to be trained in the communications electronics. But because I had been advanced promoted to PFC coming out of boot camp, I was immediately brought in and put into position as a troop handler, where I got meritoriously promoted to the rank of Lance Corporal. And realized then that, what, this is a place that I need to be. And after having a long conversation with, my troop handler, who was a gunnery sergeant who was of old school ilk, he convinced me that, look, dude, why are you here? Why are you here just marking time? You want to go into communications electronics, but I think somebody with your background and your education and how well you did in school, we have this place that's called the United States Naval Academy where you could go and become an officer. And I recognized very quickly that, I could go and become an officer. And so I applied to go to the Naval Academy Prep School. And at the prep school, it was a tough time. I had been out of high school now for almost a year, full year, and had stopped studying and almost forgot some of those tools of how to study, but leaned very heavily on the tools that I was given in boot camp to get a job done and finish it to the best of my ability. So I worked very, very hard while I was at the prep school. And I'll never forget the fact that I entered the prep school with 40 other Marines, and only 20 of us graduated from the prep school, and only 11 of us got appointments to the Naval Academy. And out of that 11 that got appointments to the Naval Academy, only 4 of us graduated. I was one of those 4. So that was a 90% attrition rate, but I made it. Unfortunately, right before I graduated from the academy, I went through a pretty devastating medical situation that put me on medical hold. I ended up going into the hospital because I had lost a large amount of vision in my left eye and had some neurological anomalies that would be later, 20 years later, diagnosed as MS. But back then, because we didn't have the information that we have today, I was undiagnosed and literally put in the category of NPQ, not physically qualified, to be commissioned. And I was so angry because this was just 12 weeks before I was about to walk across the stage, throw my hat in the air, put on that uniform, salute smartly, and walk out knowing that I was going to be a leader of men. And at that time, I wanted to go back in the Marine Corps and become a Marine Corps aviation officer. But unfortunately, because I had lost the vision in my left eye, and though some of it came back, it was uncorrectable in 2020. I was not able to go back in the Marine Corps. So I fought, and I fought hard. I took it all the way through to the Senate and said, look, come on, I've trained for 4 years to be commissioned. This is all I wanted to do. I want to be commissioned. And had the help of some senators and congressmen who fought along with me. And I was able to be commissioned as a NPQ officer. They commissioned me then. On my commissioning document is Special Duty Intelligence Officer, 1610 Cryptologic Officer. And because of my language training at the Naval Academy, and I had studied Chinese, I was immediately sent off to the Defense Language Institute to study Russian, and then became part of our cryptologic direct support force attached to the National Security Agency. And my time in service was filled with, back then, more and more training and more educating. I got an opportunity to travel the world. I think I circumnavigated this globe 3 times. I was served in everywhere from the Philippines to, go to Spain, to the National Security Agency. I was on platforms from aircraft carriers to cruisers to destroyers to amphibious assault ships to submarines. I got an opportunity to serve and spend close to 300 days under the water and well over 350 days on the water, performing my duties as a cryptologic direct support officer. And they were some of the best times of my life. Some of those memories that I have right now, looking back, people say to me, how the devil did you stay under the water for 90 days? And I say, time passed because of who I was with. And I remember the bond and the camaraderie that I shared with so many fellow naval officers and naval personnel. I worked in a very, very small det with a group of soldiers that was sent out to sea with me. We had a specific job to do. We got that job done in support of the overall mission, and always recognize that very basic trait that I was taught at boot camp, get the job done the best of your ability, hung with me throughout my entire time serving. I was very fortunate to be working with groups of men who did their jobs so well that we all shared in the glory when the missions were finished. I was awarded several medals and several honors of distinction that, I cherish to this day. And I think that looking back on my career, I recognize that the traits I learned while on active duty were the traits that I used to help propel me in my civilian life when I got out. And in my civilian life, when I started a television career, I remember distinctly, I basically walked off of, a base and onto a set. And, 3 months into that, working on that set, I had one of my producers walk up to me and say, what you got to understand, my friend, is that you no longer are Commander Williams. You are Montel Williams. And, you bark a lot of orders and don't wait for people to say, please and thank you. You just bark an order. Well, you need to get a grip and understand that barking orders isn't the way that civilians work. We like to have a please every now and then, a thank you every now and then. It kind of snatched me up and made me recognize that, you know what? They're right. I need to relearn how to do things to the best of my ability. And I did so. And that's what helped me, I think, last for 17 years in a business that normally chews you up and spits you out in less than 2 or 3. And the Montel Williams Show had a good run, 17 years on air. We won an Emmy. I won the Emmy as Best Talk Show host, and we were nominated for Emmys multiple times as Best Talk Show. But the one thing that hung true the entire time I did that show was trying my best to produce a show to the best of my ability, using all those things that I had learned and collected along the way in my military experience and applied them to making sure that I did the research, making sure that I studied, making sure that I was ready and prepared to answer every question that was thrown at me, making sure that I gave those people who I was talking to an opportunity to answer those questions back to me. And I have to say that one of the greatest honors that I had my entire time during the talk show was the fact that I was able to display proudly my burial flag right in the center of my set to make sure people understood my pedigree. I made sure that every year of my show, we did shows dedicated to our veterans and my federal veterans. And though I had taken the uniform off, I really never truly took it off. And I haven't taken it off till today. I've been working very diligently at trying to solve some of our biggest issues that are facing our veterans today, from traumatic brain injury to post-traumatic stress syndrome. I've been an active member and board member of the Fisher House. I've been working to make sure that, our veterans get treated with the utmost respect. And as I reflect and hear from some of those veterans across the country right now, as I'm embarking on other endeavors, they always reach out to me and say, thank you. Thank you for what you've done for us. And thank you for never forgetting. And that's what's so valuable about the nation's Veterans Memorial and Museum, because we will never forget. We're living at a time right now where our nation is as divided as it has ever been. But the one thing that unites us, the one thing that holds us together, that one thread, and I am so happy that things have changed from when I entered to today. We hold our veterans in reverence. We respect the service that was given by those who have set alone or set out to make sure that they protect and serve our right to be what we call Americans. And so I invite you to make sure you visit the National Veterans Memorial and Museum. Continue to participate today, as you're going to hear reflections from some of our greatest service members of our past and some of our special guests who are going to talk about what it was like for them and recognize how important it is for us to always respect those who served and did what so many failed to do. And that was serve to protect and defend this Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Thank you.
As a fellow veteran, I congratulate all veterans who have served this wonderful nation of ours. It is Veterans Day, time to do it, and I hope you will also find time to visit what we have now dedicated to all veterans, and that is a Veterans Museum. It's the National Veterans Memorial and Museum, located in Columbus, Ohio. If you're out that way, make sure you visit.
Hello, I'm Congresswoman Joyce Beatty. Each year, on the 11th day of the 11th month, our nation pauses to pay tribute to our veterans, the brave men and women who answered the call to serve our nation. As the representative of Ohio's 3rd Congressional District, I am honored to have the National Veterans Memorial and Museum right here in my district. I join my constituents and Americans everywhere in recognizing the selfless service and sacrifice of our country's more than 18 million veterans, including over 866,000 Ohioans. Again, thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice. thank you for your unwavering commitment to our nation. And equally as important, thank you for being the neighbors, friends, business partners, teachers, coaches, first responders, and leaders that make our community strong. This Veterans Day and every day, we thank you for being you.
When I think of Veterans Day, it reminds me of my dad, who answered our nation's call, joining the Army in 1939 and providing a stellar example of selfless service that my brothers and sisters and I were honored to follow. It reminds me of all the dedicated women and men I had the privilege of caring for as an Army doctor, serving with as a fellow soldier, and finally leading as their commander. It reminds me to be truly grateful for all of our veterans for what they have done and what they continue to do for our nation. Happy Veterans Day.
When I think of Veterans Day, it reminds me of my friends who bravely served in our armed forces to protect our beautiful country.
Orders and directions of your senior leaders and enforcing all regulations and articles governing the discipline of the armed forces of the United States of America. Given under my hand and headquarters battalion this first day of November in the year of our Lord 2007, Michael S. Plotkin, Lieutenant Colonel, United States Marine Corps, commanding.
Ladies and gentlemen, the chairman of the board of the Marines Memorial Association, Mr. Rick Hartnack.
Happy birthday, Marines. It's November 10th, 2020, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the first and hopefully last virtual Marine Corps birthday ball at the Marines Memorial in San Francisco. It's my pleasure also to introduce General David H. Berger, 38th Commandant of the Marine Corps, with his annual birthday message. General Berger.
I am absolutely proud to be a Marine. I'm proud of my service. I'm proud of the fact that I was in a position to do something to preserve my freedom and to hold on to those values that can only be had by free people.
Trust is not given, nor is it easily earned. Today, the trust of the nation is our inheritance, a trust earned through the selfless valor and determined actions of generations of Marines on the distant shores and misty battlefields of our storied past.
We were really snowed as to why we would need so many Marines to take this little piece of rock. But after the first day, when they lost so